Joining me now in studio is Moses Odhiambo, who is a political analyst, and we're going to go to the State of the Nation in just a bit to look at what we should expect. But you had Ambassador James Kimonyo also mention that in East Africa, we seem to be doing very well. Your thoughts on that? Do you think we're doing well?
I think in some fronts we're doing well, but overall I think the acceleration we saw during President Moi's time and Kibaki's time have sort of declined. For example, now we don't know what our current relations with Tanzania is in terms of labor movement. We have problems with trade, as we highlighted with the Uganda, and there's some sort of quietness going on. I think there were a lot of ambitious plans to have like the monetary union, the borderless trade. Those things are no longer being talked about. So I think there've been some degeneration, so to speak, in terms of how we relate with our neighbors and the general African, East African community. A bit of it probably has to do with what has happened in other trading blocs like, the European Union and the, election of people like Donald Trump who don't believe in trading blocs but believe in their country first. So I think certain countries are taking a back seat and looking at the bigger picture and saying, are we better off strengthening our institutions, having bilateral as opposed to multilateral relations and trade, or are we better off building trading blocs? It's a question that is, I think, hanging in the balance at the moment, especially considering what is going on with the EU.
Okay. Now, coming back to Kenya, and of course, this afternoon, we're expecting the president to give his final State of the Nation address before we go to the election. And possibly, let's start with just a general view of your expectation of the State of the Nation address today.
As Kenyans probably know, this is a constitutional requirement that every given year, the president has to report back to the country and to parliament specifically on what our State of the Union is. And by this, what has worked, what is not working, and what are some of the issues his government has been able to solve, because we know there are so many challenges facing this country. Personally, I think it's a very tricky State of the Union for the president, given that it's coming at the end of his term, first term, and as we approach the elections, because it will be used, Kenyans will use, his State of the Union to either, give him a score on what he says is done, or, just tell him that, you've, yes, highlighted what you've done, but as Kenyans, we don't feel you've done anything. And this will count towards whether he gets re-elected or not.
Okay. Do you think, from a political analyst point of view, that many have said that it's predictable what it's going to be? The State of the Nation address in Kenya has turned out to be a PR exercise, some would say. Do you agree?
I totally agree. I mean, there's nothing new that the president is going to tell people that we have not heard before. We've seen his deputy and president himself crisscrossing the country, highlighting some of the achievements that his administration has had over the past 4 years. So I think those are the main things he's going to talk about. I think Kenyans are looking for some 21st generational sort of leadership from the president, providing, solution-based, answers to their problems. The State of the Nation address in parts of the world is supposed to highlight the achievements that any administration has had over their, past years of administration.
Let me cut you short a little bit. Yeah. Sorry, Moses. We'd like to cross over to the outskirts of Kampala in Kasangati, where we have a reporter from our sister station, NBS, Sheila Mugisha, who is at Kiza Besige's home. And Sheila, thank you for joining us this morning. Maybe just update us what is happening as you are now at Kiza Besige's home.
Thank you very much, Michael. A very good morning to our viewers here in Kampala, Kasangati. Now, a few minutes from now, we'll be speaking to the opposition leader, Colonel Dr. Kiza Besige. Of course, we are monitoring the situation in Kenya, and Ugandans have their opinions. But as the opposition leader here in Uganda, we would like to pick his mind on what he thinks about or what he expects from the State of the Nation address from the president. Of course, he also has his opinions and about the relations between Uganda and Kenya. So in a few minutes, we will be speaking to him here in Kasangati.
Possibly, Sheila, if you've maybe managed to talk to some people on the street, what is the expectation from the State of the Nation address in Kenya from Ugandans?
Well, from the people here in Uganda, Michael, people expect that issues regarding the economy and in terms of the relations between Uganda and Kenya that will be spoken about. Of course, we want to see people and things from here being exported into Kenya and them bringing goods here to create job opportunities for people here in Uganda. But also, we can talk about the issue of security. People in Uganda want to be able to access Kenya without any issues in regarding to passport, travel, and everything.
All right, Sheila, we'll give you an opportunity to set up and catch up with Kizza Besigye, and we'll cross over back to you and just get comments from him. So we'll come back to studio where joining me, or rather with me in studio, is Moses Odhiambo. And you were just highlighting possibly the fact that with the State of the Nation address, we are not likely to have anything new or anything different, and it is not expected.
Yeah, I mean, it's given that the president will use the State of the Union address to tell us what he thinks his administration has achieved in the last 4 years. But being an election year, I think it comes at a prime time for him also to try and, endear himself to the voters by, just placing his pedals on what he thinks his government has achieved, but more so what he's likely to achieve given a second term. I mean, we know for sure that the government has, done certain things that people are probably happy about. But also we know that there are some question marks on how the Jubilee administration has approached certain issues. So for example, issue of corruption, which, a lot of Kenyans are very dissatisfied about. The issue of bringing the country together. Michael, if you remember when the Jubilee administration came into power, they came along with the desire to unite the country. But if you asked me today, I don't think the country is any united than it was before they came into power. Mm-hmm. So there are some things that they promised Kenyans that they've not been able to deliver, and that those things might actually work against them given that this is an election year.
What is that thing that would unite Kenyans, do you think? Because when we look at our political outfits, they're mainly tribal. They're mainly done on ethnic tribal lines. What is that thing that would bring Kenyans together, do you think?
I think the political class, to be honest, are very united because they know what they want in order to gain power. But I don't think we need to look at at politics as our unifying factor. There are basic things that can unite us. Give jobs to everybody irrespective of their ethnic background.
But again, that is left to the political class to make that call.
But that's what I'm saying. We need to have stronger institutions that are able to foster unity in this country. Mm. For example, if I sit within the, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, we should be able to bring corrupt leaders, irrespective of their political affiliations, irrespective of their status in the society. And Kenyans will feel like, there's no biasness, there's no ethnical biasness in terms of administration.
But yet, Moses, the things you bring up are true, but is it the fact that the political class are the ones who are somewhat in charge or interfere with these institutions that are meant to keep them or hold them accountable, that we are where we are today?
That's true to an extent, but I'm not of the school of thought that we have to resign to the status we are in. Mm. I think there are solutions, and one of the solutions we should be thinking about is trying to strengthen these institutions. If we say that, decisions are made by politicians, we'll be running down our institutions. Very soon we'll be appointing, we've seen this sometimes happening before, where professors are being denied jobs because of where they belong to. I think that is something that we really need to criticize. But as you said, I think the fundamental things that we need to do is appreciate diversity in our ethnicity. Mm-hmm. There's something special that each one of us is bringing to the society. So I don't think it's fair to leave everything to the politicians. As Kenyans, we need to think positively about what we want to achieve. I think one of the things that has been propagated before is to try and bring that humanity. I think in South Africa it's called something like Ubuntu, where people see each other as complementaries. You don't see the negative sides of somebody. I mean, I look at you, I don't say, your name or whatever betrays you. I should see you as a Kenyan, equal before the law as me.
Okay. Now, coming back to the State of the Nation, and possibly just to hear from you why this is a very important State of the Nation address, given that it's the last one, but one might argue that since it's the last one, the die has been cast regardless of what comes out of the State of the Nation address.
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, personally, I don't think it's an important State of the Nation address because there's nothing new
that will come
that
out
the president is going to tell Kenyans that they've never been told. What he's going to do is to use this opportunity to reinforce, for lack of a better word, reinforce his commitment to some of the promises they made that they've not achieved, and probably hit home, keep on mentioning some of the successes they've made. I think, personally, I think he's going to take the advantage of the fact that it's an election year and tell us what his government is planning to do rather than what has done so that he will get more votes. I think that's why the opposition is probably switched off because they don't have, it's a big opportunity for him. I don't look at it as, a State of the Nation for just a report card being issued to Kenyans. It's a platform to, express his desire to lead again in the next presidential term.
All right, thank you very much. And that's Moses Odhiambo, who is a political analyst, of course, highlighting on the State of the Nation address that is expected to be delivered this afternoon, and that's going to be done by His Excellency, the President of Kenya, as per